Who's the vile person you are looking for in a place deserted like this? You tell her, and you don't understand anything, that I am now looking for a very terrifying person who can kill you. Literally with one finger. In these years, we see that there is a worker in the Bureau of Investigation who monitors what is happening and reports it. Everything I see is exactly the same. Jean hears the words and says, "It's very good. We are close to getting evidence." And here we return again to Feng, who will develop his egg and dagger after he was killed. All chicks. He usually walks around for a while to look for any good massacres. But suddenly, while he was walking, he heard the sound of someone crying. When he looks up, he finds a man holding a box and says, "My wife left me and took my daughter too. I don't have anything to live for." The security here expels this man and tells him that you were the one who was gambling and you must bear it. Consequences. At that time, more and more people talked about the man. So he understood from the words that this man had sold his house and brought me an old, fat ring. He gives it as a gift to the pool next to it. But in the end, this pool turned out to have a hammer that was literally unnecessary. Feng looks at this golden pool and says that the view of the pool really tempts anyone because he gives him a gift. He uses the eye of truth on him and knows that this pool remains the property of the person named Rich Goblin. This goblin was literally bored with the precious treasures he brought him, and now he needed tools. Advanced technology. Feng says it is very logical that what happened to the man a while ago was normal because he was basically a goblin. I am not interested in expensive treasures. In this building, the security man kept calling his friend and the man who was located far away took him away. The place. She enters and asks the security men to wait. She offers this man that she will return to him everything he lost. The man is very happy and tells her, "Okay, I am ready to do anything you ask of me." She says, "Okay," and makes a sign, and we find a number of huge men moving. And whoever takes this man takes him with them. At this moment, everyone standing around explodes. They say that we were poor and that people no longer do any good. But it is clear that the good still exists. But one of the gangsters takes issue with this and tells them that it is fine. This is all based on interests. The girl next to him compliments his words. She tells everyone that the number of gifts given is very limited. That's why this organization exploits people and makes them give extra gifts. 4 massacres. But in the end, it is the organization that receives the rewards. He gives those who exploit them just food and drink and some money, without any need for it. Feng hears all this and walks away. Asna is walking somewhere. He sees him and calls him. But Feng ignores her and does not respond to her. He gets upset about something and you tell him to wait. He didn't hear me or anything. Then there was a sign that the men with them were all moving and surrounding me. Totally. At this time, Feng looked calmly and looked at the thing. He discovers that she has now become a very important figure in the organization and also with it, men under her command. But despite her current position, she couldn't forget that Feng had warned her and not done so. Until he responds to her. Do you talk about something and say, "Will you regret it now or what?" People around them raise their voices and ask if Feng is Shiha's lover. Previous. Most of those present were already mocking Feng because he was currently in a difficult situation. In this case, Feng's stomach basically makes a sound because he is hungry. He decides to get something to eat, but before he does anything, she stops him. She also takes off her boots and says, "Kneel in front of me now and look at my feet and I will follow. You owe 20,000, and there remains a soul for $20,000, and I will eat it." She actually takes money from one of the riders to pay money to him. Someone makes a fuss and says, "Let's listen to what she says now." Another person will be the same, but he will remain in Feng's place. Feng ignores all of this and walks away quietly. Soon you start to get annoyed again because Feng is cold and you keep telling him to do what I told you to do instead. Change my mind. But to his surprise, at this moment, everyone present was shocked when they heard the sound of a very strong slap. Literally, the slap teaches her something, but Feng continues and gives her a slap as well. With the back of his hand, she falls on the ground and is unable to comprehend the insult that happened to her. Now, the men on the other side are not waiting and they are all attacking, but simply fighting. He gets rid of them and flies them all easily. Then he approaches Shay and tells her, "You are more despicable than me, and I am more like you than that." The other one leaves and people can't believe what happened at all. In the middle of the audience was the hidden person, a follower of Jin, who was always suspicious of everything. He informs Jane of all the details. He then tells him exactly about the betrayal that happened with Shay and that her ex-lover came. All of them defeated a large number of men easily. Jin thanks the soldier on duty and orders him to complete his work quickly. Meanwhile, Delin comes and sees a picture of Feng there. She says this shape is very familiar to me and I feel like I have seen it before. Jin tells her, "Try to think about where you are," but unfortunately, she remains completely forgotten. Jim feels that this boy seems important, so he has orders to collect all information about Feng. He says that it is clear that Feng obtained an amazing treasure that made him remain very powerful. We come back again, and it's still the same party that goes to a street full of restaurants. He looks around carefully and sees that people are eating and chatting together and having a lot of fun. With life, he notices that there is an empty chair, so he sits on it and orders the food he likes. In these days, there was a man in his 40s who was walking comfortably. He is standing at the dining table. He says to those sitting at the table, "I have a treasure from which a blue ray came out." The young man sitting was surprised. This man brings out the treasure, which is a cup of tea. The young man holds this cup and continues to examine it. Then he tells the man what exactly it is used for and how much it costs. The man responds and tells her that he will give her 30,000. But in reality, "I don't know what it is used for." The young man shouts at him and tells him, "You look so deceitful because you don't know how to sell an item." Basically, I benefited him by 30,000 as well. The man tries to justify his position and responds, but this young man does not give him any chance. On the other hand, of course, Feng does not waste the opportunity and uses the eye of truth to cover up. He knows that this will remain calm and he can store rain in it after 12 at night and retains the properties of rain. Feng really likes the cup. He says, "If I could, I would take the rain and use it later. I will make the target completely lose its capabilities. With this view, I can still use the cup. In order to defeat one of the people with great power, it is normal." He stops and gives it to the man. This man goes to him and tells him the item I have is blue. The young man who insulted the man intervenes. And Feng tells me, "Don't let this man talk to you because he looks like a fraud." Feng doesn't care about talking and asks this man to eat. The man is surprised by this and that there is someone as good as Feng. He wonders if Feng is an organ dealer or not. Then he started eating as if he had literally never eaten at a grocery store. He tells his story while eating and that he was a very good investment analyst. But his daughter became seriously ill, and this man spent all his property on her for treatment. Currently, he is a worker who sells the treasures he has just to complete the money for treatment. His daughter. He walks with Feng for a while and says, "Do you believe me or not?" Feng responds and says, "Don't worry, I definitely believe the story of the hero who sacrifices everything because of it. But his daughter's life. Also, treasures are not the most important thing in life, but having a dome like you is the most important." This man does not believe these words and remembers all the insults he was subjected to and stays put. He is crying because Feng was the only one who believed him. He says, "I will never forget this beauty of yours and I am ready to please you at any time." Feng decides to buy the cup, so he withdraws the money and hands it over to the man and the man directly. He will come down and look at Feng's man. But Feng stops him and tells him that we are friends now, and they even take each other's numbers. And they disperse. While Feng is walking, his swimming pool comes to mind and he thinks about starting a company because he buys all unnecessary rewards. He feels like giving her a gift in this pool and benefiting from the blood that comes out. He even feels that he might need the man who is still leaving him immediately when he comes to open this company. Then he looked at the clock and found that there were about 4 hours left until midnight. He moves quickly to offer gifts to the altars. After a while, he finds many people gathered. He stood and looked and allowed them to talk about the matter. He raises his eyes and looks at this thing and finds that it has turned blood red. When he finds this color present, he concludes that disasters will happen, because the bloody matter in stories and games always means monsters coming and happening. Disasters. Suddenly everyone in the place runs and screams. Meanwhile, Feng keeps standing quietly, opening the mobile phone and looking at the dust. The dust sees that everyone is talking about it too. Most people conclude that something very big will happen. They also say that the rewards can increase. He locks Fingo and moves until he finds a pool in the shape of a vending machine. He uses the eye of truth and knows that this machine has intelligence and goes to collect currencies. It says that there are only 10 attempts left for this pool. At that time, a young man comes and goes to the machine and drops a coin. The number of attempts decreases and becomes 9. When the coin is dropped, a bloody mist comes out. No one ever knows exactly what it is except the one who placed the coin. He thinks about Feng and says, "Okay, the blood fog thing is good, and this is a good opportunity for me. So, I can give gifts today without anyone knowing that I received a Castoria award." No. After that, he offers his coin and gets a rare blue sword in return. Whoever sees that this sword will be of no use to him, except that he puts it in his pool and takes blood in its place. He also obtains an epic armor, and Feng also sees that this armor will not be useful to him. Strong. But he still wants to know how these two will extract blood from the pool. He has it. Time passed with us after that, and while he was having fun, he was walking and found a swimming pool that looked very special. He uses the eye of truth and knows that this pool will become a sea of stars. Lost. The faces of the pool contain a lost astronomer who needs anything to guide him and restore hope to him. Bass and the light of life. He takes out a matchstick and thinks about offering it. But he changes the idea and says that a match or a lighter will not guide the world or anything. That's why he changes it and comes out of his pocket and arrives to withdraw the money. The one who presented it to the man who sacrificed everything for his daughter. Feng says the man's sacrifice for the world. Perhaps this remains the true light of hope for life and guidance for all lost people. He actually puts the receipt and submits it. When he does this, a golden 5-point star comes out. He uses the Eye of Truth on her. He knows that this remains a rare element. Her name is Star of Hope. This is used to bring a dead person back to life. Feng is shocked. He literally says that this element is not valuable at all. It appears that he is even higher than Al-Kasturi. Without wasting time, he stores the star in the dimensions box. Then he runs quickly to get back to the pool. While he was back, he opened his mobile phone and watched the news. And I find people saying that there are massacres that have exploded. It is also known from the news that massacres always explode after the end of a number. Sometimes the gifts that are written on them. Here the issue is confusing, as no one understands whether the destruction and explosion of massacres is a good thing. Basically, nothing bad. More time passes with us after that, and finally Feng reaches his pool. As soon as he arrived, he put the sword down and a rare spurt of blood appeared immediately. He drinks it. Then he continues and puts on the epic armor and is waiting to see what he will get. Exactly. At that time, the pool releases a very huge energy, and in the middle of it is a purple blood bubble. It is written on the bottle that it will improve strength, which is more than the usual. Feng drinks this bottle, and the energy fills his entire body to the point that the bottle falls off his hand. He feels it with great intensity and heat, and from the intensity of the energy his eyes become colored. But after a while, he will return to normal again and he will feel that he has become much stronger. So he tries and hits the wall in front of him with a punch, but the wall calms down. Then he looks at the clock and realizes that there is exactly a minute left until midnight. So he relaxes and opens the dust, feeling like he knows what will happen today afternoon. Night. He finds himself in the middle of searching, but he is immediately working alone, standing in front of a swimming pool full of food. This person says something strange. It's 12 o'clock and the swimming pool is still there. It's not gone. Here he tries to aim a burger at the pool when the clock strikes 12. But then a very terrifying-looking monster comes out and eats this man. And the clothes end. All people worry and say that this is exactly what happened, and many of them are sad about it. The man who is material. Things won't be simple this night because people start being surprised by monsters. There are disasters between workers working the streets and immediately reporting the matter. Immediately after this chaos, an emergency alert comes from the government, which warns everyone. People are afraid to leave because the massacres have now brought out the monsters inside them. Finjo continues rummaging through the dust and concludes that this works like a key for him. Do not destroy monsters or any swimming pool, as the monster will emerge from it. And when he thinks here that he is with the watch and also the star that can protect him, he is not afraid at all, from everything that's happening. On the contrary, he says to himself, excellent, now the whole world has become a food court. For my egg. He smiles a malicious smile and decides from the beginning that he is going to start the process of repelling monsters. All the while, he moves, and the first pool in front of him has a witch in it, and through his eyes he knows. This witch is a very cold, distant monster. He comfortably pulls from this witch's back and is able to stab her. The witch screams and falls dead to the ground. Her blood fills the whole place. At the same time that she died, her swimming pool explodes, and Feng finds something shining amidst the wreckage. What is this thing called? It is a swimming pool fragment. Feng doesn't care about knowing anything more about it and stores it all the time. He immediately puts his egg on top of the blood. We find that the percentage of axes increases to 55.5%. The dagger also grows with 2 stones and 14 soul points. Feng is very happy because what happens is that he quickly develops the egg and the dagger. He says this is literally a treasure for me. Then he continues and runs to go to Ziada's pool. He finds a garbage monster in front of him, and this monster is an average monster. Feng simply trains him with 1 punch, kills him, and also takes the pool shard. He continues more and more and his enthusiasm for killing monsters increases more and more. He says, surely there will be a big treasure behind this murder. I will take it. After a while, he reaches the 3rd pool, and there was a monster above him, which was a skeleton. This time, it is a monster from the green level of Ardibat al-Nagba. Feng runs quickly and hits the monster hard. The monster retreats exactly 23 meters back. But despite that, he is not defeated. Feng understands that from the beginning of the monster level, the monsters will be much stronger. He also concludes that now he just needs to fight smart. So he takes out his dagger and comes back again to run at the monster. At the same time, we went to a son and his sister who were hiding among the containers. The boy stands in front of his sister, holding an iron camera, but it shows that he is afraid. In front of them, a very terrifying-looking monster approaches them, with wings and wielding a sword. This monster gets very close. The boy knocks his sister away and runs towards the monster to attack him. Unfortunately, the monster is much faster and strikes the boy with a sword, literally splitting him in pieces. The 2 texts. The girl here is shocked and can't help but feel sorry for the scene of her brother's death. What she saw in front of her is this. We also go, and in the meantime, there are soldiers on a mountain, training workers in all the woods, with them on the monster in front of them. But this monster is not affected at all because it is iron. The leader says it is impossible, but we will not surrender and we must defeat this monster also. Because if the monster came down from the mountain, many people would die because of it. We will also go to another place, which will have a team of 5 people. They all remain injured, but in reality, they remain happy because they were able to defeat the monster of Nagba. Finally, they currently have 3 rifles, so the commander is appointing me these rifles. He says it is clear that Shazia has a great benefit, which we will learn about later. One of the team speaks and says that our team is very strong. Even the government itself cannot obtain 3 pieces like Xena. We can literally sell these gadgets to the government at crazy prices. Once again, we are back to Anodyne, and the one who remains is still a monster killer now. But he is upset because this monster did not shed a drop of blood. He couldn't help but develop the egg. He feels the accidents that happened and looks at the matter. He says that I must put in all my effort to let the egg hatch today. Feng then moves along so that he finds any monster. But he is surprised that the entire area is empty. But despite this, he continues his search until he finds the metal monster. He easily trains him, finishes him, turns him into scraps, and stands on top of him. He also meets another monster, which is the monster of illusion. This monster in particular surprised Feng very much, because his attack was a mental attack. This mental attack made Feng watch Xia cheating on him with someone. But Feng was not affected at all and understood well that it was an illusion. He destroys the space of this illusion with his dagger and simply breaks it. Then he looks and notices that the color of the blood moon is a little less. He opens the mobile phone and discovers that it is currently 4 o'clock. He says that the time is almost over. He also looks at the egg and finds that the progress is very close, reaching 82. 8 out of 10%. The dagger has 647 spirit points remaining, and the Feng has 31 points left. Shazia swimming pool. He returns here to his pool to see if it is okay or not. And then he goes to sleep. When he sleeps, he has a nightmare. In this nightmare, Feng turns into a huge ant and runs through his entire corridor. Just at that time, there was a voice from workers talking to him and saying, "What are you waiting for? All the spies in front of you. This is to survive." Feng quickly gets up, upset by this hideous nightmare and does not understand what he saw. Now, he opens the dust and finds it all spread about the suffering that happened and remains in. Very many people were killed in the first place. At that time, someone wrote a comment about how he could guide his wife now, because after she saw it, someone gets killed and she does it lamentably. There are also other people who suffer from phobias and are afraid of all massacres. Feng keeps changing this until he notices the government announcement. In this announcement, the government asks everyone to adapt to the new reality because life remains. So he will have a specialist test him. The last thing in the announcement is that the government is ready to buy the pool fragments at a price. 20,000. Feng says that this issue of Dragon Forces is probably done so that the government can remove everything. The strong are subordinate to them. Then he looks at the issue of fragments and finds that everyone is very happy about the price. But not anyone, can collect the fragments at all. Remember that it is the time equivalent of 31 shards and the equivalent price is about 620,000. This money is so much that Feng would not have been able to collect it even if he had worked for 10 years. So he takes out the fragments he has and says to himself, "No, it is impossible to sell them again. But when I know what he uses it for." In the meantime, the mobile Feng burn. When he arrives, he finds Uncle Shaw talking to him, the one whose daughter was tired. The uncle keeps thanking Feng for what he did for him. He says, "I only have one request, but it's embarrassing." He tells him that he spoke normally. The aunt tells him that I got Musabar and Fez from Malmazabi. They don't have any need. I wish you could buy them for me at any price. Because I need any money. He would rather be silent for a while. And so he knows that this junk is very useful to me because he has his own swimming pool. Otherwise, his blood will flow and his strength will increase. At this point, Fang comes up with a good idea, so he responds to the uncle and tells him, "I will meet you at night." The idea is as follows. Fang does not want to collect garbage items himself. Rather, he wants to have a network that will work for him and bring him all the junk in the world. He keeps testing this uncle again, so that if he succeeds, he will be responsible for collecting scrap. After that, he calls the farm owner and tells him, "I want 800 joys from you." The owner of the farm happily told him, "Okay," and within a short time the cars will arrive. For the slaughterhouse, as usual, Fing slaughters and pecks at the chicks, and when he finishes, he sees the progress of the egg and discovers that it is there. Reached 85%. As for the dagger, it has reached 720 spirit points. When he finishes, he goes to Uncle Shaw and enters the house. He noticed that the building did not look nice at all, but Uncle Shaw's apartment was beautiful. Inside, he sees children's drawings and amazing things in it. He concludes that Shaw's daughter was probably the one who drew it. He continues to talk and asks the uncle if he lives alone or not. The uncle says yes because my daughter and wife are in the hospital. I don't even leave the hospital just to get the money. Then he takes out an axe and a lamp, and Feng uses his eye. He knows that this is a rusty axe and there is nothing wrong with it. The lamp was of ordinary white color. The only value these items have for Feng is that he can sacrifice them. His swimming pool. Shaw interrupts his thinking and says whether the price of 500 per item is suitable for you or not. When he realizes that Feng is not responding to him, he becomes very nervous because he feels that this amount is large, and it will go away. But in fact, Feng still sees that 500 is not a big price at all, and asks what. If he has many acquaintances, he knows them. Shaw says, unfortunately, all my friends have left me, and now all I know are patients. And the people are worried. Feng tells him fine and takes out a suitcase from him and asks him if he knows what this is. Shaw is surprised when he sees it and says that this is still the Shazia and no one will get it yet. What kills the Blood Moon Day monster and its price is 20,000. Then he calms down for a while and says, do you want us to help you sell the chariot or what? Feng puts his hand on his shoulder and says, take this car and sell it for any price you want. I will only take 20,000 from you, and I will take the rest for you. Shaw is worried about the idea, but Feng reassures him that he will not be involved in any profits he will take. Normal. He also informs him that he will buy any ordinary item from him for 500,000. This thing will happen only when he deals with the families of the patients who will help him. On elements. At that time, he was considered to be working as an intermediary for Feng. He thinks about it for a while and sees that what is really happening will bring him a lot of money. But he concludes that he certainly won't do this for free. So he goes to talk to Feng and says, what is your main purpose? Feng says, I am a very simple student. I just want you to forget my name completely. You deal comfortably in these trading operations as if you are the owner of everything. Shaw understands that he will be a photo in the end, just so he can survive. He hides behind her. He concludes that this job is definitely dangerous. He does not know. But he says any big profit requires a regular risk. When Finji concludes his agreement with Shaw, he will come out. At that time, he feels suspicious because now his senses have become much stronger after consuming it. Pull blood. He says to himself, it doesn't matter, even if there is danger, the watch is with me and I will be able to deal with anyone. Limit. He continues his life very normally and goes to buy things from a supermarket. He chooses that he is walking on a broken road, all of which are abandoned houses. After a while, on his way, he stops and smiles, and he says to those watching him, are you bored or what? When he says this sentence, all the men who are watching him come out of the darkness. They are completely trapped and we see that they are both poor with knives. Then there is also a car that comes quickly and chops up the front so he survives. At this moment, she gets out of Arabic and the shortening of the slap is still on her face. She thinks about everything that happened and becomes very angry and upset. She talks to Feng and says the world is difficult. I did not expect that we would meet again so quickly. Feng focuses and activates the Eye of Truth on all the guards. He discovers that these guards have very ordinary personnel. The only one that is a little strong is the one that has a bump on its face because it has a green element. He talks to the owner of the pot and keeps making fun of him. This man also gets angry and quickly stabs the sword on Feng and tells him, we can divide you into two halves. Right away in one fell swoop. The sword is actually coming down exactly above Feng's head. But Feng, with only 2 fingers, can hold half of this sword and prevent the attack. He continues and hits the owner of the pot with a strong fist and sends him flying into the air. The men present are all terrified and repeat that they are running and saying, how is the leader? Scar can still be defeated. At that time, a young man among them also looked into Feng's eyes, and because of the great fear that came to him, he threw. The weapon is running at full speed. But within a moment, Feng comes right next to the young man and tells him, you are very slow and faithful. Again he disappears. This young man does not know what happened, but he looks at his bed and is surprised that he is now a worker. It's bleeding. We now know that the last moment Di Feng hit the young man with the dagger, a very quick blow and he fell. The dagger's soul increases to 721. 21 guards are here. They know what's in it, so they are all running, and they run away in different directions. As for Feng, he will not leave them alone, and he starts hunting them one after the other. He literally committed a complete massacre. He was using his awesome speed. He was moving like a shadow like this while he was. The last guard is killed among the guards. Some of them surrender completely and walk away. He goes down on his face and begs for help. But he pardons him now. He even exposes something and says it by the way of this girl. She spoke to the organization's officials and said that you are a failure and nothing more. We are supposed to control you and exploit you. For this reason, we came to arrest you in the first place. Venji doesn't give the goalkeeper any chance. He immediately takes off and launches a sneak attack. The thing happened from afar. When you see what happened, you don't understand it at all. In front of her, Finja shoves the body of the last guard and walks comfortably towards it. You sit and think for a while and say that this guy was always a failure. We even talked to him easily because I wanted to take advantage of him more. Of course, the person in front of me now is probably someone else. Meanwhile, Di Feng is getting close to her, and he stands right in front of her. Her sheep screams very hard and falls to the ground. She keeps teasing Laura while she is crying and apologizes to Feng for everything. Then she literally grabs his leg. She hopes that he will allow her now. She says to try, but she remembers all the sweet moments that we had in the past. I promise you that I will do